Good morning, guys. Morning, afternoon, night, wherever you are. Um, Welcome back to another Bible in the Backyard episode. And this week I'm starting a new chapter, theme, etc. And this is going to be based around friendship. This came to me, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and it just felt right to start this. In my own life, I have some people that are leaving, friends that I've had for about 10 years, and they're moving. Um, we have stuff come up with different weddings and different everything, and it's just how do you come together? How do you do this, that, and the other? And how do you be a friend? What kind of friends should we look for? What kind of human connection should we look for? And my first question for this is how far are your friends willing to go to help you? How far are you willing to go to help your friends? Um, and hopefully my tagline, fingers crossed, I don't know if it's going to be this or not, um, it says don't just try the door. Look for a window, and if that doesn't work, tear the roof open. Um, you'll find the story that we're going to talk about in the book of Luke. So Luke is the third book in the New Testament, so it's one of the Gospels. And you'll find this in the 5th chapter. And so I kind of went back and just looked a little bit of how far Jesus is in his ministry at this time. He's not very far in it. He went and he was tempted. Talks about a spirit of an unclean devil, Jesus' healing ministry. He calls the fishermen to go follow him and be his disciples. He heals a leper, and now he's going to heal a man with palsy. So if you'll find the book of Luke chapter 5, and you'll go to verse 17. Sorry if I stumble over my words. I like to make up new ones. If you're new here, how's it going? My name's Haley, and I like to make up new words. So this is going to be interesting. So it's going to start in the 17th verse, and we're going to read down through the 26th. And it's not a lot, but it's a really interesting story and a really interesting two different takeaways that I've gotten from this story. In verse 17 it says, "And it came to pass on a certain day, as he was teaching, that there were Pharisees and doctors of the law sitting by, which were come out of every town of Galilee, Judea, and Jerusalem, and had the power of the Lord was present to heal them. And behold, men brought in a bed a man which was taken with a palsy, and they sought means to bring him in and to lay basically the man before Jesus." In verse 19, "When they could not find by what way they might bring him in because of the multitude, they went upon the housetop and let him down through the tiling with his couch onto the mist before Jesus." In verse 20 it says, "And when he saw their faith, he said unto him, Man, thy sins are forgiven. Thy sins are forgiven thee." And the scribes and Pharisees began to reason, saying, Who is this which speaketh blasphemies? Who can forgive sins but God alone? But when Jesus perceived their thoughts, he answering said unto them, What reason ye be in your hearts? Whether it's easier to say, Thy sins be forgiven thee, or to say, Rise up and walk. But that ye may know that the Son of Man hath power upon the earth to forgive sins. And he said unto the sick of palsy, I say unto thee, Rise, and take up thy couch, and go to thine house. And immediately he rose up before them, took up that whereon he lay, and departed to his own house, glorifying God. And they were all amazed, and they glorified God, and they were filled with fear, saying, "We have seen strange things today." I have two things that I took away from this. One, it's the friends' faith in how they acted. Two, what the man actually needed, which was to be forgiven. And I have another question. It's, what is stronger than a group of friends trying to find Jesus? Nothing. Nothing. There's nothing stronger than that. And I can attest to it in my own life. There's absolutely nothing stronger than a group of friends trying to find Jesus. Absolutely nothing. I just want you to close your eyes and picture the scene in your head. If you're a visual person, hopefully this will help. If you're a person that loves to hear things, go for it. Listen along. There's a house. I don't know how big the house was. There's a house. There's no open space in the house to even move. People wanted to see who this Jesus person was. The Pharisees definitely wanted to see who this Jesus person was, because they're the rule makers. They're the people that are in charge of the cities. They wanted to see, who is this Jesus guy and what is he about and what's actually happening. So it was filled with Pharisees. It was filled with people. It was filled with multiple different people from different towns, all coming in to see Jesus. Now, okay, you have what's going on inside the house. Now let's see what's going outside the house. What are they doing? So you have this man who's basically on a cot. Because it says couch, but couch to us in these days is like really big and really comfy and really heavy. I don't think he was necessarily on what we know as a couch. Well, I think it'd be like what we know as a cot. This man's dead weight. He cannot hold himself up. He cannot help in any way, shape, form, fashion lift himself to do anything. And if you've tried to lift someone up that is dead weight, child and or toddler and or baby and or others, they're heavy. They're extremely heavy when they can't help you. And I don't know how many friends he had with him, or how many friends were there. Could have been 4, could have been 5, could have been 6. Multiple things. With the cot. Okay, so they try the door. Okay, so they're walking around. Is there another way in? Okay, let's look for another way in. There was no other way in to get to Jesus. Absolutely no other way in. They climbed to the roof, regardless of how high that roof was. They climbed to the roof and they tore off the tiling or the shingles, or I don't know, whatever was used back in that day. Basically lowered him down and put him right in front of Jesus. Jesus can't miss him. He's basically right in front of his face. In verse 20, and it says, and when he saw their faith, not the man's faith, but the friend's faith. It had nothing to do with the man at all. He said when he saw their faith. You can't tell me that the impact of your friends doesn't impact your life, because it does. It depends on who you are around, who you interact with, who's most important to you. That's who you're gonna evolve and become and be around. And this man was around people that would do anything to get him to Jesus. And this man, and us as humans, need to surround ourselves with those types of people that'll do anything to help us get to Jesus. Knock down barriers, pray with us. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, you know where you stand, and you know that you can go to them and tell them anything and ask them anything and be like, I need help, and they're there. Get a phone call. Hey, in my own life, this was several years ago. I think it was the day after Christmas. I give my cousin a call. Some personal things were going on in our family. My mom and my dad were getting a divorce, and it was the very start of it. It was nasty, it was ugly, it wasn't pretty at all. I called my cousin, and they were headed out to go see another of their family members to go and celebrate Christmas and, have time. And I called her, and she stopped what she was doing that day. She stopped what she was doing that day, and she came. She came, and it was the simplest of things. We sat, we talked, and then the next thing I know is that we're off watching Frozen in the movie theaters. That's how long ago it was. It was Frozen 1, not Frozen 2. But it was just this piece of knowing that, hey, you got my back. And the same thing back to her, I'll be like, I got your back. You don't have to question who you have in your corner, because I'm in your corner. So that's the man and his friends. But I want to talk about also what happens next. What happens next in this story? And it's so interesting to me. Jesus forgives him easily, no question. But wait a second. This Jesus dude, he's forgiving sins? Pharisees were like, no, only God can do that. Only God can say, no, you're good, you're clean. Who's this Jesus guy, and why is he thinking that he can forgive sins? And in my notes in my Bible, it says, it was much easier to say, thy sins be forgiven, since there might be no visible proof. To demonstrate that he had the power to do the invisible miracle of forgiving sins, Jesus performed the visible miracle of healing the man. Okay. What do we look for in our own lives? Like, what really do we look for in our own lives when it comes to Jesus and him acting and leading and whatnot? Do we look for the visible proof? Most of us do. Give me a sign. Show me a sign. I need something visible. I want to basically hit me in the head with a brick. Let me know what you want me to do, or is this the right path to go on, or thank you, or this, that, and the other. We look for our visible proof in our lives to see what God has done, when really most of the work that God does is invisible. We can't see it because it happens within here. It happens within how we transform our life, how Jesus transforms our lives into what he wants us to be, and how he wants us to act, and who he wants us to be, and what are we being used for? What does he want us to do? What's our mission? I feel like in this case, Jesus didn't need to prove that he could forgive sins, but because he was also at the very beginning of his of his ministry and the power of the Lord was present with him to heal, he healed. But he used the visible proof to show that he can heal both the body and, most importantly, the heart. Because if you don't heal the heart, how are you going to be able to heal the body? Because really those two go hand in hand. If you can't heal the heart, then how are you going to heal the body? I got a question in this for you, and I want you to think about this next week as we go along, and I'm going to have another story for you next week about another set of friendships in the Bible, and how they interact with each other. What friends of yours, really, what friends of yours would tear off the roof of a house to lead you to Jesus? What friends of yours would break down any wall, visible or invisible? Again, I like to make up words. To lead you to where you need to go. Just a question. Think about it, ponder it. Yep, but that was in Luke chapter 5, verse 17 through 26. So, thank you. See ya.